is your host, Cain Stevens. Record. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cain Stevens Super Show. I am your super host once again, Cain Stevens, and this is my supercalifragilisticexpialidocious show. Man, I can't believe I could say all this and, and not stumble, but I have another super guest on my hands. You guys, usually I have like the goofy picture of myself behind me as a kid, but I just thought I'll give you guys a glimpse into beautiful, luxurious shoe line records here, where we do all of our productions, and I have a spiritual, it says, I'm looking at your bio here, a spiritual alchemist, which I have no idea what the heck that is. We're going to talk about that. You educate people worldwide on how overburdened as an adult, you know, how you getting stuck in that type of thing, how you can exit that endless grind. And it also says that you would be willing to talk to me about exorcisms and all that ooky spooky stuff. And it just so happened you found a spooky guy who loves that stuff and my audience as well. So with that being said, let's give a round of applause for Eva Vennari, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, excited to be here. It's gonna be fun.
Welcome to the show. So how's your day going so far?
You're the first of the day, so you're the first and best energy. We're gonna get at it.
I hope I'm getting the right energy, or you're gonna go through this and you go, oh man, I got to do this the rest of the day too. What part of the world are we talking from? Where are you right now?
I'm based out of Los Angeles, but I travel a lot, and since I can do my business from anywhere, worldwide is my audience. Yeah.
Perfect. And do you live in the Burbank area, that type of deal?
That's where I was born. No, I'm on the west side. It's over the hill.
Over the hill. I did some recording with my cousin in the by the, what is it, Lake Cassick or whatever, is that the name of
Oh, there's a bunch. I don't know. There's Toluca Lake that's over there near Burbank. There's
Yeah, I don't know. I flew into the Burbank airport and I I have no idea where I went after that. I went to flea market in what is Santa Clarita or whatever. Have you been to that one?
Well, not to the flea market, but I know where you're talking. Santa Clarita is where Lake Pyramid is.
Yeah, it was super. That was the coolest flea market I've ever been to, but it was like I had no idea how hot it is in California. Like
Yes.
you guys are in a desert, and
It
it's
is
like,
the desert. Yeah.
and then it was like
People
at
forget that.
night the sun went down and it was like, oh my gosh, it's like I need a sweatshirt on. I couldn't believe it. Like I was too truly shocked by it. So, but no, we're gonna get into all this stuff. My interest was piqued by so many things when uh talking to you about being on the show. This Could you tell me and the audience what the heck a spiritual alchemist is?
Well, that's what my guides and angels have dubbed me. Because over the years, I've gone from holistic practitioner to healing rebel to the healer's healer, and just most recently, because I've been doing this for almost 2 decades now. One of my guides, Claire, in the Claire audience, says to me, "You're a spiritual alchemist." Well, okay, fine. So let me put that together. Uh, I use modern day technology, so things that we know that are science based, and amplify ancient magic in order to get the result faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how long have you been doing this type of thing? When did you find your calling as a spiritual person? Like you wanted to help people through healing and everything?
Yeah, it was crazy. It got me into all of this, but I had my own chronic illness that I became a holistic practitioner through. And I did that to save myself money. It wasn't to put a shingle up and go, I'm going to help other people do this. I just wanted to get better and save money while doing it. And in that process, about 2 weeks after I became certified, I was on the phone with my now deceased ex-husband. And he started telling me all of these things going on with him that were chronic. And I says, why don't you send me some of your hair, which is that's the testing I use, and we will figure out what's going on with you and fix this. And he laughed at me and goes, no, my doctors have me on medication. I'm fine. And Well, he was on medication. He was on 17 of them, I found out, as I cleaned out his apartment because he died of a heart attack
Yikes.
at the age of 45. And once I got that, that just kind of dawned on me. People need to know they have an option. And so I went from I'm going to save money in this true holistic healing method to I need to be out there talking to people. And as I opened my doors for business, the spiritual side also opened up because he attached himself right here to my auric field and started talking. He didn't cross over.
Oh,
And so quietly, I'm doing my business and I'm trying to build up my process, and we're going to reverse burnout, and it's all physical, and we're just going to do a test, and we're going to get your body up and running. In the meantime, my nighttime hobby was, how do I get rid of this attachment, and what do I do with it? And so that was the beginning. And that was July of 2011.
and was that scary to you? I mean, what did at first did it terrify you a little bit to have someone who has passed on coming to you and trying to talk to you?
Scary is that he was familiar, and it almost made me angry because I chose not to have a that close of a relationship with him. We were divorced, for 12 years prior. And I was like, oh no, this is an invasion of privacy. So I was more offended initially. And then I thought, well, this is not only invading my privacy and my life, and it's not my decision. It's not what I wanted to do. Um, it left me with the confusion. I don't know what to do about it. And that, I think, also brought that confusion and being hurt, two ways to make a person angry. And so I was more angry than anything else. And I was just dead on trying to find an answer. So yeah, the curiosity of how do I get rid of this situation was my driving factor at that time. I didn't know what to do. It's all new.
Did you find out why he didn't cross over? And can I ask, has he crossed over since?
Well, yeah, that's the next part of the story is in my search to find the answer, you'll see my cat, she's near the screen. So you're going to see weird things
I thought I
happening.
saw a creature. I was like, is that a koala? What is that?
It's not a ghost. It's a cat. There she goes. So yes, in my curiosity, looking up, what do I do with a ghost that's attached to me, and using the internet, it was a great tool. So there was a local spiritual school, metaphysical school that had a fair, and I booked myself a few interactions with different psychics, and they were like, oh yeah, you have somebody attached to you that's going on. and all of them were, oh, you need a psychic surgeon. And so they introduced me to a psychic surgeon, and I had a session with her. It was a 1 hour session, kind of on a like a massage table, where we go into a dual astral travel into what's called a contract room. And these were all new words to me: astral travel, contract room. What are you talking about? Oh my God. Okay. And in that space, I discovered, and she did too, as my practitioner, she's describing what she sees. And I go, oh yeah, I also see. And I was describing the rest of the room. And she was, you can see this too. So we both realized my clairvoyance was really well developed without me even realizing it. And in that session, we cleared our contracts between my ex and myself. And I learned about the angel, Archangel Michael, but one of his soldiers was there. And he taught me. He says, okay, Eva, now it's your turn. And I'm like, why is an angel talking directly to me? This is weird. And so in that experience, I thought at that time that angels do things for us, that we're kind of innocent bystanders, or maybe a victim that needs the help. I never once thought that I would have this interaction. He says, it's your turn. And I says, what are you talking about? And he says, you're going to clean off his soul body. I'll teach you how to do that. Create the grid that cleans it off. And then you already know, and I did at the time, I just didn't know what it was. You know how to create the light. Everybody, when they die, they say, follow the light. That's the light. I can create that. Apparently that's not something everybody gets, that spiritual gift. It's a rare thing. Yeah. He says, you are one of those who can do that. Create the light, and then you're going to send him through it. So I'm one of those people that gets to usher the lost souls to the other side.
So why do you think that is? Get digging into this, because I talk to a lot of and I I'm not going to use the term psychic because that's used in such a wrong way. But there's so many different things,
Yes.
spirituality, mediumship, and all of that. But with that being said, I talk to a lot of people in this realm, and they all tell me different things. Everybody has different gifts. Why do you think you have that gift, and say the next medium that I talk to has different gifts? Have they kind of explained that to you?
Well, yeah. So I went into and I want to just finish up that story for two
Yeah, yeah.
seconds because
Sorry,
it's so
sorry.
important. So that's okay. Because it's all of it's fun. And so this one part where he's asking me to do that, I am a little bit lippy. I've got some spice to me, and I go, "You're the angel. Why don't you do it?" And he just said, "You're the human."
Yeah,
So that's part of your answer right there. It's
yeah,
our job. We're here to do those things. There's something about being in this clay form attached to the Mother Earth, and of course, spiritually through our chakras, aligned with Source, that gives us this power. And that power and that ability is what demons are attracted to. So that's the second part that most people don't know, the why. I answered the question you asked with, I think I went to the Walmart spiritual store before coming into this body and said, add store to cart by now. I think that's what I did, because no matter where, my gifts don't end with the list of litany of things that I know how to do and then I'm done. I can be in the presence of another healer, and they'll show me what they do to, spiritually, this new tactic, this new way, this new modality, and all of a sudden I know how to do it too.
yeah. So that's really interesting to me, and I'm so sorry I cut you off before you could have gotten to the answer to that story of my life, right? Um, but no, it's so. I want to ask you this then. I mean, so you're talking about angels. We've talked about demons. Would you say that even with this gift, then does it heighten your sense of maybe not what they completely talk about with religion, but does that heighten your sense? Are you a religious person? How do you feel about any of that?
I'm fully recovered Catholic. Thank you very much. Yeah.
A lot of people need to be recovered, right?
No, there's so if I were to take what I've learned directly from heavens, the sources of um my guides, my loved ones, my teachers, my higher self, my source God, all of that, and try to reconcile it with the dogma of any religion, it's a clunky mess.
Yeah.
You're trying, oh well, this is because of that, and this teaching and explains this. It's much more simple than we think. And if we do our best to say, you know what, there's no shame in our human beingness, then we get rid of the guilt, we get rid of the shame, we get rid of the fear, and we trust in the God and the universe that has so lovingly created us for this experience. Religion becomes a non-issue, because now you have a direct relationship with your creator.
Right. Well,
And yeah, it's always with you. So that to me is what religion is for, other than, community. But I have a community of friends, so it's all good.
and used in the right forms. And I'm not one to bash, I don't like to bring up my religion to people or what I feel, because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't like to push it on people because I came to it later in life. But I will say this, in its purest form, religions can be good for people, right? Like you said, a
It
sense of
can.
community, all
Yeah.
that. The principles are good if taught right, but there's so many bad things throughout history that have happened that I was talking to a good friend about this earlier today, actually. There's so many bad things have happened that all of it gets a bad rap, right? Like people are in arms about Muslims, they think that they're doing such bad things, but in principle they're great. In Christianity, there's a lot of great Christianity out there, but it gets a bad rap, right? The bad people kind of, it's everything about religion. Maybe it's just we all, and that's just my theory. Maybe we're all kind of on the same track, like you're saying. We're all thinking about the same thing in a different way, but it's how we're applying it. That's how I look at it, I guess,
Yeah.
and I think it helps.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say it. I say that especially if you need the rules in order to not kill another person, stick with the rules. Right? I mean, I live by a simple creed.
Yeah,
That's do as you will as long as you harm no one or yourself. And that leaves a lot of leeway. And then you have to define, well, what does it mean to harm? And for me, the ultimate is to not remove free will from another, because that's the whole reason we're here, is to have that free will experience.
exactly. I think, yeah, man, this is, I can already tell this interview is going to be an enlightening interview for me. I love talking to spiritual people. I love talking to everybody. This is why I do it. It's kind of like my online journal where I get to like add somebody else to the journal, and then we all kind of like, it's kind of like me figuring out life. So I truly do appreciate this journey we're going to have today. But I hate to take us to a darker turn of it, but I always like to circle back to the paranormal because it's fascinating. We all want to know what happens when we die, but you talk about demons. Can you tell me what angels and demons are? I mean, are they aliens? What are they?
I can tell you what they're not. They've never been human.
Hmm.
Yeah. They are elemental in nature. They're not necessarily eternal beings. They have a life cycle. And that's the difference between a demon and a human being. We have a soul that has never been born, so it can never die.
Hmm.
And that leaves a jealous spot. Demons, they want to be a part of that. And the best way to get to heaven is through the human. So we are the vehicle for that, and that's why we need to protect our bodies
Right.
while we're here. Yeah.
Well, like in the lost books of the Bible and things, I don't know if you've ever like dove into that type of stuff. Especially I'm sure Catholicism's like, oh no, no, don't talk about that. But I'll say this, there's some interesting stuff there, like the Book of Enoch and things like that is really,
Yep.
and they do talk about the Nephilim and all these creatures, these creatures, and it's like, why, to me, I ask people, why is it so hard to believe if we can sit here and say, hey, aliens exist and ghosts exist and all, why is it so hard to believe that we're living in a supernatural world where there's just so many things throughout the history of humankind and everything else that we just can't understand? So what do you think about the Nephilim and all that? I mean, not to get too biblical, but I mean, does that describe what an alien, or like, not an alien but an angel would be?
um it's interesting. I think everybody that has had interaction with angel, they receive the raw material, and then it goes through their own filter of how the technology of what they translate. It's like if you think about the native Mayans when they first saw the ships off the coast, and they thought they were clouds. What do you call it? The sails.
Yeah.
No, it was a ship. They just never seen it before. So we have this way of interpreting the information, and I think a lot of the interpretations were based on old technology that we see in the Bible. They didn't have the vernacular. They didn't have the way to convey them what they were seeing. Burning bush, not really. Just a lot of light energy. You know how much energy it takes for an angel to become seen on the planet? So I would imagine that energy was just an exceptional amount of light that was diffracted and probably difficult to look at.
Right.
So how it was described is based on the technology of the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, even Moses, I think, even Moses had talked about in Genesis, like Moses didn't, he wasn't a good translator of any of this stuff.
No.
That, and so they bring in his brother-in-law to like do all this stuff. Like, yeah, you're like better at talking to people. Why don't you
Yes.
like express to people what I'm trying to say? It's a like crazy idea, isn't it? And I'm not poking fun. I mean, I'm the one that believes it. I'm just saying, like, it's a wild notion, isn't it? They didn't know what they were looking at then.
They didn't, and not that we really do either. I think that because we, as Joe Dispenza likes to say, we drink the wine of forgetfulness when we take ownership of this body. We forget what we are already a part of, and that's essential to this, free will life. We have to forget.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to remember the who we are, and how to bring our life purpose in, and that's a spiritual journey all on its own, and people get very frustrated about that. And oh, by the way, there's all these other things you have to deal with and learn about along the way. And it can be distracting to think about. So for me, when I see an angel, I see them in the old school way. They When I do what's called a calling upon, and I bring in the angels, they come in pairs. Not, you get a male and a female that come in with their specialty, and I see them with their wings, and I feel their heaviness, and I can feel, their movement. I can feel them. And they're white. That's just my technology. It's what I reference. So everybody sees them according to their own technology. Yeah.
Oh, and I don't mean to go all in. I don't mean to be mean spirited toward these people, but I've had some battles with flat earthers in the past. So I want to ask you something. I want to do the hard hitting questions here.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry. I'm like, I've been in a plane.
Yeah.
Okay.
It ties into what we're talking about because these people who, especially there's some religious people out there who they read everything that they read in like the Old Testament and they think this is absolute, like the firmament is water and all this
Yes.
stuff. They believe that that is proof that there. I've had a guy tell me that when he looks into space, that it's nothing more than water. And I want to go hug him and I want to say, "Oh, my friend, you know, like let me console you and let me help you." And I'm not saying I'm smarter than this guy because I mean I'm not, you know, I'm not a genius by any means, but I mean there's been a lot of study done, right, on space. What do you
Plus, we've been there. Yeah. Plus, we've been there.
think in there? And so I asked him, like, okay, so you watch TV, don't you? And he's like, yeah, yeah, of course. I'm like, where do you think these satellites go? And what are they? Like they launch them into space. Like that's the reason that it's like shooting a signal back to us. And that's the reason that we have all this stuff. And then he just, you know, he goes on a tangent. So what do you think it is? Do you think the earth is round? Is it hot dog shaped or is it flat?
I I had a friend who watched the flat Earth special, and she goes, "I don't think it's flat. I think it's infinity shaped." And I just looked at her with disappointment. I can't hide it.
Yeah.
I went, "No, I've been in a plane. I've been to 40,000 feet. You can see the curve of the Earth. I also know that we have satellites shooting pictures back of the Earth at us, and for the science, I'm a very scientific person. I love science, and I wanted my very first analysis as a kid. What are you going to be when you grow up? On the list of those things was astronomer.
Wow.
So for me, the Earth is round, or that slightly more oblong shape. It's not really round. Like if you want to split hairs, which I'm good at doing, that
You and I took
it's
different paths.
weird.
You know, you wanted to be an astrologer and I wanted to be a professional wrestler. You know,
Well,
our
that
paths aren't the same.
no. Well, okay, so I wanted to be president of the United States until I realized you had to be corrupt in order to hold that position. So, anyways.
But yeah, for real. That's a whole another topic, man, for another time. But I would love to get in that. I never really get into politics with people, but man, I can just say this. I'm just so saddened at like what's going on. Like I can't even bear to watch the news or any of it because it's just so foul and ridiculous. So I ask people to watch podcasts like this where like people are talking and I consider you, I mean, I don't know you personally, but just talking to you, I can tell you're an intelligent person. I can tell you're you know, you seem like a caring person. You're laughing at me, but you're not laughing me out of my own Zoom room. So at least, um,
Never.
but you know, I want to get into the dark arts stuff for a bit. And not that the reason I say that is there's this thing going on right now, and you know it is too, because we just talked about it. There's this dramatic thing going on where everyone is kind of romanticizing the idea of demons and like in every haunting, right? Like every haunting show, Ghost Adventures, we all know famously he's possessed every show.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, it's so hard to watch that show for me. I'm like, no, that's not what it is.
It's got to be hard for you because it's like you're watching this and you're like, wow, like this guy, like my wife was all in with me at first, you know, and I've watched all of them. I still do for entertainment value.
Yes.
She's like, I can't watch it. She's like, Zach is so dramatic. And it's like, who wants that guy on their investigation?
Well, they're from Vegas, right? But he's such a Jersey boy. The whole
Well, I know he's never going to be on my show, so I don't have to worry about it. His manager's going, definitely not, you know, like not this show. But it's just
yeah.
so ridiculous. So what are the odds? I've asked people this before. What do you think the percentage is? And this is just a guess. A percentage on people who are actually in the presence of a demonic entity in these hauntings. I mean, that's a
Well,
pretty loaded question, I know.
as my ability to tune in even to a show, because we live in the 3D construct time space continuum, so in our reality it's been taped and then we're watching it after the fact. But in spirituality, when we cross the threshold across the veil and we go into a space, I can astral travel or just send energy to a space and check it out. They're not all demonic. Now, he does have something following him, and he knows that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that fully. I mean, I truly believe they do go to the most haunted places in the world, right? Where
They
negative.
do, yeah. So some of them are actual earthbound spirits that have chosen to stay behind, and nobody's created the light for them. So some of them are them. Some of them are fractions of souls left behind from a traumatic incident, and those are the recordings. So you got the person who goes down the stairs every day at a certain time, or the soldier that walks through the woods and does this and fires something. Those are what would be solved if the person who currently owns that soul has a soul retrieval, so that there's a spiritual ending or solution to both things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the elemental and the demonic presences that can be there because of other actions. Usually it's that sticky spot I was talking about, humans who are steeped in fear, guilt, shame, which this is why I have such a bad rap with religion, because they place those feelings onto the parishioners. And I looked it up one day, I'm like, why is there such a need to do exorcisms in the Catholic Church? And then I was curious. I do this in my free time. I get curious. Are exorcisms only in the Catholic religion? Like, no, every single religion has them. Okay, interesting. So what's off about all of our religions that we're creating these sticky spots that demons are coming in and attaching themselves? So anyways, Zach, bringing it back around.
Things circle
Must
back.
have, yeah, making this big circle. Just stay with me. Yeah, but this is there's something with him that needs to be resolved about a sticky spot, something keeping that demon attached to him, and it's always there with permission. The demon can never come in without that permission. So you have those situations. You also have people who have done dark like black magic in a space that will leave a portal or a place where the demons and elementals can come through. So you have all of those situations. And then you've got the poltergeist. Poltergeist is not a third party. It is a part of you trying to return to its owner. That's all it is.
That's all. So it's not traditionally what people think a poltergeist is, right? It's just a part of you.
Yeah, a lot of people get demons mixed up with poltergeist, and they are two separate things. Yeah, if you deal a lot with self-shame and rejection, like, I don't like that part of me, so I'm just going to shove it aside. Well, that's still a part of you. That's like trying to get rid of your pinky toe and say that's no longer a part of me. You can't do that. It's going to create an energetic resonance, and it's going to want to return back to you. And so that's the energy of movement in this space. And sometimes it's a demon and sometimes it's part of you. So it depends. And you need somebody who is adept in recognizing, identifying, and then providing the correct solution to solve it.
Well, this topic in general is literally the only topic that terrifies me, and it's a lot of reasons, right? It's all of the superstition from religious, from being around religious people throughout my life. It's the movies. It's like it's the only thing that I watch, and I'm like, he's shooting down my leg the whole time, like I'm terrified. It's like, I mean, it's crazy. It's the stuff I think about. I go on these investigations, and I pray for protection, and I do all that stuff, and I mean, it certainly can't hurt, right?
I'm
But
Skippy. No, you better do it. Yes.
if you can tap into this stuff, I mean, can you tell me, I mean, through the investigations that I've done, have I brought anything on myself that I shouldn't? I mean, can you say that? If you don't feel comfortable, it's okay. And I'm not doing it to romanticize it. I'm doing it because I truly am curious.
Yeah, no, I'm looking. There's nothing attached to you more than anything. When you go into a space, they're curious about who you are. That's what I get a lot of, for at least the ones that are able to think. So like earthbound spirits, if you've been in contact with any demons, none of them have come back with you. So
Yeah.
that's at least not here. They're not here. And not with my minor little tuning in. So
No, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but
okay.
I know that I know it's what you guys do, and I really do appreciate it. It's something I worry about because, one, my mom tells me that all the time, right? Mom's always telling me, oh, don't go on these things. Don't do this stuff. Don't talk to these people. Don't do this. because she's so worried that I'm going to bring it on myself. And I do get that, right? There's a
Yes.
certain amount of that. But I'm just like, I feel like, hey, I'm good. Like, but I have felt weird. I'm not going to say for drama purposes, like attachments, but I get weird dreams and stuff afterwards. But honestly, I chalk it up as this. I have extremely active mind, right? Like overactive. And I get pretty carried away. So it's probably my mind doing like that mind dump, like, oh, can we just get this out of here? Type thing. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think it is when that, like in my dreams and stuff like that? I've got a lot of night terrors. Is it because of
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, night terrors could also be a result of mineral imbalances too. So these nighttime is meant for the brain to take our short-term memory and turn it into long-term memory and process and have our dreams and go into REM sleep and all of that good stuff. So if those are being interrupted, or you're having the night terrors and it's not related to an entity of some kind, then there's something going on physically in the body.
Right. Well, I mean, let's be honest. I almost died 3 years ago. I have a pacemaker. I'm sure that affects my well-being in general because it's kind of strange that something's pacing my heart like, like a robot, you know what I mean? Like 100%. And then I have the terror of that. And then I have some other things. So I'm sure I have some imbalances. And then I'm like locked up on all this medication because we talked about medication earlier. The thing about like cardiologists are great, right? They're super smart people. Just like I love cardiologists. I love brain surgeons and all that stuff. Those guys are on another level. But man,
Yes.
they like to throw some medication at you, don't they? And
Well, yes, just like a hammer will see a nail and everywhere it looks. So, yeah, medication has its uses, and I think we've gone overboard on that. As a practitioner, I can definitely say that it's not healthy for the body to stay on medication for life. You
yeah,
stay on it short term, and then in the meantime, it's that two-pronged approach. Then go after how do I get the body to work the way it's meant to, how it's designed to, because God made it. We're designed perfectly to heal. And every once in a while we step in with our hubris and think we know better, we can fix this right now with our hack, and we live with that. Whatever the choice is, fine, and the body will compensate and work around it. So whatever choice you've made along the way, it's what you've made so far, and then you get to make choices moving forward. As long as you're alive, we get to do that, you know.
man, these diuretics are the worst ones. Like I'm on like a heavy diuretic called torsemide. And torsemide, don't sue me for mentioning you, or I'm just saying you guys make me pee a lot.
You
And
can't sue them, so I don't know why that would.
I'm just simply stating the fact. Like I took a torsemide today, and I'm willing to bet I'm probably gonna have to break in the middle of this interview. You know what I mean? And I apologize, but we'll probably do that when we get closer to sponsor. Well, we're getting pretty close to that now. Actually, that's a great segue, if you don't mind. Um, not to go pee, but for our sponsors. With
Great.
that being said, we have a few great sponsors, and let's go ahead and run the old commercial for the Elegant Sasquatch right about now.
Hey there, grooming gurus. We've got something wild for you today.
That's right, folks. Get ready to tame the untamed with products that redefine the beard game. Introducing the Elegant Sasquatch Grooming Company.
Elegant Sasquatch, that sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it?
Well, grooming should be an adventure, my friend, and with these products, you'll embark on a journey to the grooming wilderness.
So, what makes the Elegant Sasquatch so unique?
It's all about taking your beard from beastly to beautifully wild. Picture this, you wake up and your beard looks like it just got back from a spa day. That's the magic of their high-end beard balms.
Spa day for the beard? Sign me up. And let's not forget their beard butters and oils. It's like giving your beard a tropical vacation. I'm talking about a beach party for your facial hair.
A beach party for the beard. This company's got the best marketing ever.
Oh, but we're not done yet, folks. The Elegant Sasquatch Grooming Company also has beard washes that make shower time a majestic experience.
Showering with Sasquatch, that sounds like a reality show.
It does, but seriously, listeners, if you want to sophisticate your outer beast, head over to elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and use the code SUPERSHOW at checkout for an exclusive discount of 20% off.
You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram. Check them out, like them, and while you're at it, tell them the Super Show sent you.
All right, everybody, we're back from our break. I no longer apologize to you people for giving you the burden of these ads, because you know what? It's not like they're keeping the lights on, but they are helping the show out. So I want to thank my sponsors once again and get those products out there. Go to those places that we've mentioned, like Roots Music Shop here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Also, Sly Ink Tattoo. Bryce is the best. Get those tattoos. Go cover up that ridiculous tribal tattoo like I have on my arm that I wish I could get rid of it, but I can't because I got it when I was 16. Get rid of those things and get something cool from Bryce. And then the Elegant Sasquatch, all you smelly bearded men out there, get those beard balms and all that stuff. So we have, yeah, she knows what I'm talking about. So we have a super guest. If you've been living under a rock for the first half of this, we have Eva Vennari, everybody, and she's a what she calls a spiritual alchemist. She's an educator in the spiritual world. She's a healer. I mean, she pretty much does it all, and she does exorcisms, right? Am I? And so I really want to talk to you about that, because I think that my audience would love to know what a real exorcism is like, and just hear from an exorcist in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll share with you my first paranormal experience that led me to from the fear to the questioning. And I hadn't quite left the church yet, but I had I have two daughters, and one of them I had a very tumultuous time with. And as she left the space where we were arguing, she was out of the house, and I decided I'm going to sit in her room for a minute and just kind of pray for an answer. And as I'm sitting on her bed, the picture from behind me, about a foot or so behind me, flew off the wall, hit me in the head, and dropped behind me. Now there was no one else in the house, no room, nothing. So this experience freaked me out. Yeah, and it made me reach out. I'm like, well, maybe I need the house blessed. Maybe this needs to be cleared. At the time, I was not into understanding energy flow. This is years and years ago now. And I reached out to my priest, and he says, well, don't be so quick to push away and kill off whatever this may be. Question it. And I went, oh, if a priest is telling me to question it, there's some safety in this.
Yeah.
And so I took that approach, and that's what led me down the path of learning how to recognize these different entity types, all of these different things that I named off in the first half. You know, it's the difference between an earthbound, a spirit that's just, you know, a fraction of a soul, an actual elemental, an angel, a demon, a witch, you know, a banshee. All of these different things are possible. You just have to know their properties, how to recognize them, and what to do about it. So that's what got me started, is that. And so if you don't know what it is, it's kind of hard to work with. But if you do, then you've got the whole power of heaven and earth behind you to help you. And that's really a big difference in confidence. So you go from being fearful to being confident.
So when you decided, like, you wanted to figure this thing out, you know, you wanted to so what steps did you take? Not that I want people to do a step-by-step, I'm going to be an exorcist now manual, but what steps did you take to kind of learn the ropes of that?
It was every type of spirit that I just named off, all of that. Mm-hmm. I know of because it was in my personal experience. So I had the benefit of a learning experience where those things were part of mine, and I got to learn from. So it's not, you can go to school to do this, but when you're trained by angels, it's a little bit different. So I'm a advocate of learning, lifelong learning. I really believe in, we've got to continue to learn. That doesn't just end because we graduated from high school or college. It's like, you know, this is ongoing. And where you get your wisdom is through learning from your own life. And hopefully you learn not to repeat mistakes, but build off of them. And that was my opportunity. And rather than poo-pooing away these experiences as, oh, that's all in your head, or It's just it's just your imagination, or that really didn't happen, and trying to deny it. It was acceptance that these things are real, and that for some reason I was called to kind of a desire to say, I want to help people with their sovereignty. Anything that gets in the way of their free will, I almost named myself an agent of free will and said, I want to protect this. And when you raise your hand like that, in a spiritual sense, heaven hears you. And I go, okay, yeah.
Well, but is it like, it's not like in the movies though, right? Like say you watch The Exorcist. I mean, have you witnessed anything like that? Like truly crazy where like people are thrashing around and flying in the air and anything?
No, 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 it's much more subtle and insidious. And the true thing about demonics is they're very attractive at first. You know, they want to lure you in with something that you find irresistible. And in that offering, it's a bait and switch. They say, I'll give you this if you give me your sovereignty, but they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that they're taking a piece of your soul and they're going to hold on to it. And now you're fractured, right? So it's a puppeteering that happens. They become the controller of you. There goes your free will. There goes your connection to your source. You don't have what you thought you did. And anything that they try to promise in return for that piece of controlling you, it's never exactly what they said. It's like being in a relationship with a narcissist. It's exactly that way.
and it's the ultimate deception, right? I mean, they're the master deceivers, and they know how to play on you and all this, and they know what to take from you and how to take it from you. It's just so interesting to me. And the reason I'm fascinated by it is because the reason I started doing investigation, yes, when I was a kid, I loved ghost stories. I've always loved them, but I lived in a real haunting. I lived in a haunting where I was grabbed by something that wasn't there, and it left me frightened. We had a lot of different things happen with my kids. We saw things, we heard things, things moved around. We had a priest come, and I remember people telling me, "Oh no, that's impossible. The Catholic Church never comes unless there's like massive amount of investigations." And I'm like, well, you're basically calling me a liar. I'm telling you, I called the Catholic Church. I told them what's going on, and they felt the necessity to come and at least bless the home. I will say, I think that the Catholics have robot priests, and that's what this guy was. He showed up and he was the driest guy I've ever met, as if he was an android, and he kind of just like did the motions, bless, bless, bless. And
You know, many padre, right? Yeah.
interesting thing was where we had the most activity was downstairs. So I took him downstairs, and he told me, he looked around at all my horror movie memorabilia and all that stuff, and he goes, he's like,
I knew it. He judged you. Yes.
and he goes, well, it looks like your lifestyle could be a part of, a reason for this. And I thought, that is ridiculous, but thank you for coming. Like, I'm so glad you did. But the interesting thing about it was after he did that, it was fine for about 2 weeks. Then about 2 weeks goes away and the house starts to intensify again, and all sorts. And why is that? I mean, did the priests agitate them? Did they just go, oh, that kind of ticks me off, now I'm back, he ain't coming back? What happened there?
So yeah, I mean, I've had earthbound spirits who are attached to the home, and a new owners moved in, and I go in as a practitioner, and I'll place the protection salts in the corners of the house, and I'll do the blessing, and I'll get the house where it is. This earthbound spirit who lived there and owned the house before was offended. And so it went from previously just kind of knocking a few things off here and there to really being disruptive. And I had to go in into the mind and have a conversation with her telepathically and go, look, you don't live here anymore.
Right.
So either you leave the house or you leave the inside of the house to the new inhabitants. And so she either didn't, there's a stubbornness, ghosts are people without bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We shouldn't be afraid of them. And they don't have the capacity to be demonic in nature, but they can disturb our peace of mind. So it takes having that conversation with them and saying, look, you have some options. You can either go through the here is the lovely light here to walk through, or you just stay out of these areas where they're living because it's not okay and you're not allowed here. And that conversation has to happen.
The thing is, it's interesting about this area is this is an old base housing here in Lincoln. So there used to be an Air Force base, and this neighborhood is super haunted, or at least that's what everybody says. Like, people report the craziest stuff. Since I was a kid, I lived out there as a kid, and so in these duplexes, I mean, they're countless. What, hundreds of families have lived in these places. So if someone's attached to this house, they're probably annoyed, right, at all these people in and out of this place that they dwell, right?
Yeah, they're territorial. When they're attached to a home, and that can be a home, it can be any object. Like when I go into one of those vintage stores, oh, it's noisy. So things could have attachments to them. And if you buy it and bring it home, the next thing you know, you've got activity. So I would imagine, as I'm tuning into the neighborhood and the space, more of that has to do with traumatic events, and they're not so much earthbound spirits. These are recordings. So you've got traumatic events that have captured a piece of their soul and has been left behind and is playing out those last minutes before the traumatic event. And that's what I see. It's noisy because there's a lot of activity.
Do you think some of it is some of it is Native American and like, can you tap into it? Because that's always been a theory of mine because of the nature of it. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be prairie land many years ago. I mean, we are in the plains.
I can usually tap into if there are like burial grounds that somebody just decided to, dig up or build over. I'm not getting that so much as I am traumatic life endings. An awful lot of blood was shed, and these aren't necessarily a bunch of knowing spirits who are like, yep, I don't have my body anymore and I'm just wandering around. No, I think these are fractured pieces of soul that are left behind. Anytime someone's life ends early, I'll give you an example. As I drive and I see an accident on the other side of the freeway, I live where the 10 and the 405, there's always something going on. And so you'll see an ambulance off to the side, and next thing I know, I've got the spirit, the ghost in the back seat, very confused. Oh, damn, what happened? Something like that. And I'll go, look left. That's you. Your life's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I get that an awful lot. Ghosts find me. Yeah.
Is there an eternal sorrow to ghosts, especially people who can't pass on? I've always wondered, like, is there a certain amount of sorrow that keeps them around because they're so sad that they didn't make it as far as they wanted to?
Well, I tell you what keeps most ghosts around, especially children ghosts, is because they wanted to be with their siblings and their family. And when their family died and they went through the light, they failed to go through the light with them. They failed to go through their own light, and then they were stuck. So just recently, I was in England in the south part, and I went through a home that was a manor back in the 1950s. One of the children died as a 12-year-old boy died as a result of equestrian. Mm-hmm. Nobody actually saw what happened. They saw him alive with the horse, and then all of a sudden he was on the ground and dead. So this 12-year-old, as I'm going through the house, I'm with a bunch of people, and I stop and look in the nursery, and there he is in the rocking chair. Now I see him here, not physically. And I go, hey, what's going on? And he goes, you can see me?
He's like, thank heaven.
Remember, he's been dead. Yeah. He's been dead for 70 years now. And I'm like, yeah, come on. And so he shows me his like little epitaph that they put up a shrine about him and then his story. And I says, that's you. And he goes, yeah. I says, you want to go home to your family? And says, yeah. And so I asked him, I says, why did you stick around? He says, I wanted to be with them.
Man. See, that's a sad story to me. Like it's sad and it's good all in the same. Like, it kind of is what I thought it was. I was talking to a lady not too long ago about, have you ever seen a ghost story with Casey Affleck at all? You know who
I don't know.
Is, right? That's Ben Affleck's brother.
Not off the top of my head. I know the name. Yes.
Oh yeah. I must be like the biggest promoter or the only promoter of this movie. I don't know. And I have no idea why. I'm not getting anything for it. but I cried watching this movie, a guy wears a sheet ghost costume, and he's a real ghost, and it was just like it was more like an artsy type thing. But I would invite you to watch that, and it showed me like the true sorrow, and I would love to hear like a follow up from you if you watched it sometime on what
Yeah.
you thought about it, and if that is kind of like the way it is. It's called A Ghost Story. I think it came out in like 2017 or something like that.
But this was this was originally a book, a ghost story, because I remember reading this as a child.
What are books? I'm just is it really though? I read a lot of books, but I had no idea this was based off of a book. That's awesome.
Yeah. From, I mean, child, I was in my, let's see, elementary school years. So we're talking early 80s.
Yeah. Well, is it the same? Wait, hold on. I'm gonna get my producer here or myself and my Google to
Your team, you, yourself, and I. Yeah.
yeah, could you guys look this up for me? And I'm gonna look up a ghost story. Okay, 2017 film. It had a it doesn't matter if it had a lukewarm. I don't know if this one could be, because there was another ghost story movie like years ago, right? Like like you said, like in the 90s or something, based off of it was cheesy, of course, but everything was back then.
Well, yeah, come on. Yeah, here's the one you're talking about. I see it on my phone, a ghost story with Casey Affleck in it.
Yeah.
I have not seen this. I don't recognize the front cover.
I just it brought me because of the sheet ghost thing. I just thought this is hilarious at first, and then here I am crying the whole time, sobbing like a baby about a guy in a sheet ghost costume. So
Yeah, Peter Straub. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that movie, but it'd be fun to watch and see if it's like the book.
well, I know I don't have a lot of time with you, because I know everybody's time is valuable. But if you have just a little bit more time, I have a couple more questions to ask you, and then I
Yes,
need you to promote whatever you'd like to promote.
let's
So
go for it.
I recently did an investigation at a place. It seems like you can tap into these things. And I won't say where for the protection of the family, but it is in the area that I was talking about. And at this place, there is thoughts that someone had hung themselves years ago. And in the garage, we got some like, you know what an SLS camera is? You've seen those, haven't you? They're like the stick figure ones.
Oh, yes.
Okay. We got some weird stuff in there, and I'm not saying that's a proof of a haunting, but I mean, I had something in a corner reaching down for me. Do you think in this home, something tragic happened of that nature, and that's why this house is possibly haunted?
Well, I mean, as soon as you said for the protection of the families living there, I heard suicide. So that came here. And then what happens when somebody decides to take their life is it opens up what kind of looks like a black hole in the fabric of space-time. It's like it punches a hole into the ground or the foundation of it. And that can be considered, some people call it a hellhole. Some people are just like, hey, this feels icky, this feels weird to me. People's homes have not been able to be sold because somebody killed themselves or, you know, died in a way that wasn't of integrity, let's call it that.
Yeah.
Then it can create the portal, it can create space for the weird things to come through. Yeah, just the energetic force, and that those can be cleared. I clear those up remotely. I had a friend of mine who called me up a year after his wife had passed, and he was trying to sell past. She killed herself with what do you call it, antidepressants. And he'd been trying to sell the house. People were coming through the house and saying how gorgeous. They'd get to the master bedroom where she was found, and they felt off put and decided to leave and never made an offer. So as he's explaining this to me, I can see that black hole. And I says, do you want me to see if I can do something about that and heal it? And as he's telling me yes in his very long-winded way, I took the permission and I just went to work. And we had angels go in and repair the area. And at the end, in my mind's eye, it looked like new skin, like a baby's bottom, like just brand new skin, shiny and new. And as he's done with his yes, because he was very verbose, I go, okay, it's done. You should get an offer on the house in 2 weeks, is what I was told. And 2 weeks later, I get another call from him, and he's like, I just got an offer on the house.
Wow.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, would you be willing sometime if the family was interested? I mean, I could do whatever it is to get you to, whatever it would cost or whatever. Or I'd like to help this family out. Like this is the second time I've investigated there. I truly feel like the amount of things that happened during these investigations was enough for me. And I don't generally like to say, oh, of course, but I feel like almost 100% this place is haunted. I can't, I said almost, so let's say 99.5% haunted. Would you be willing to help them with a clearing if they wanted that?
Yeah, it's something that I love doing. This is my favorite work that I do, is to restore natural order energetically to a space or a person, because this can have this kind of um contrast can occur in anywhere, in anything. And it's done with angels. It's done not with a cookie cutter result, or I should say a cookie cutter solution. It's something that's guided by angels, and then my guides that come in and help me. So yeah, it's an hour on the phone. That's all it is.
Well, you heard it here. I know they listen to the show also, and if you're listening now, it's out there. Okay, she said she would help you guys if you guys want it. If you don't want it, I understand that too. But I feel like something in this home needs to kind of move on. It feels like they're trapped, and I wish them the best in moving on.
Yeah, it's a feeling of I'm trapped and I'm angry about that. Yeah, and they need somebody to listen and help them with whatever their goal is, and get it done.
They also seem whatever entity's there seems rather agitated that I'm
Yeah.
there. It seems like I in particular, of all the people in the group, and I'm not the Zach of the group by any means. I'm just saying, like, it feels like a lot of the activity was kind of centered around me, and I feel like I ticked it off. Is that a fair assessment?
Not so much ticking it off as I'm going to get your attention so that you can help me.
Perfect. Well, that actually checks out because I remember the last time I was there, I sat in a room by myself and I talked to this entity, and I asked them some questions, not thinking I had sensors around and everything, and everybody else is taking a smoke break and all this stuff, and I'm just in there, and I'll be darned if the sensors didn't go off. I mean, the thing was trying to get my attention right where I wanted it to get my attention, and so I was like, okay, somebody's trying to get me here.
Yeah, not after you, after one. I want help. That's what they were saying. I want help. Yeah.
That's what they want. Well, I'll definitely talk to the family, and I'd love to stay in touch with you. This is why we do this on the show, is talk to great people like yourself who help people and want to do this stuff. And I want to give you an opportunity now to promote, since we're at the, dry your eyes, everybody. I know, dry those weeping eyes. All
Yeah,
good to come to an end. So I want you to promote anything you'd like to promote now.
absolutely. I love to share this work, but really, if you feel like you have some sort of compromised environment or compromise in yourself and you're not sure and you want a phone call with me, I offer a free 20 minutes to listen, to hear, to read into, and make some recommendations if I can help. So that can be seen on my website, which is theelevateinstitute.com. And don't forget the THE. So theelevateinstitute.com. And scroll to the bottom of the page. You'll find the Start Here calendar, and you can book a 20-minute session with me for free.
Awesome. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Just the website and the consultations.
That's the best place to start, because as you kind of heard in our conversation, there could be something going on physically. There could be something going on with a person in their relationship where they have their beliefs off. And I have programs that are all my pillars that get you to the next step in your evolution, whatever that is. And I'll be able to suss that out in the conversation and make my best recommendations for you. And if I can't help, I know somebody who will be able to, and I'll make those recommendations too.
Absolutely. So stop calling those Catholic robots. And I'm not saying they all are, but the ones they sent to me definitely were a team.
They were meant to appease you. Yes.
You're here to help you, but they're not, they scared the crap out of me. So, well, you've been a great guest. You've been a top notch in my book. I'd love to have you back sometime if you ever want to come back.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope to talk to you again soon. is your host, Cain Stevens.